And a very good evening to you. Welcome to Politics 101, Thursday evening. Welcome to all of you. Those of you who are joining us from Guyana, welcome to you. If you're joining us from outside of Guyana, a special welcome to you. Good evening to those of you who are joining us from New York, Brooklyn, the Bronx. If you're upstate New York, welcome to Politics 101. Welcome. Those of you joining us from New Jersey, Jersey City, and in the suburbs of Jersey City, welcome. Those of you joining us from Hartford, Connecticut, and those of you joining us from the South. Good evening, Atlanta, Georgia, in the suburbs of Atlanta. Those of you joining us from South Carolina, North Carolina, welcome to Politics 101. And of course, my people in Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, welcome to Politics 101. It was so good to see my sister, Lynette Imogen, for a brief moment in Boston, at the Boston meeting, that famous Boston meeting. Yeah, she was there. We didn't have time to hang out a little bit, but it was good to see her duck in and duck out. You know, all you all New Yorkers do it. Welcome to Politics 101. Good evening, Mr. Vibert White. Mr. Vibert White, the man with lots of energy. It was good to catch up with him. I can't remember whether we got to take a beer or not. It was good to see him at the Moko meeting. Thank you very much. And his team from Grove. We're going to get to Grove. We are going to get to Grove. Good evening. Welcome to Politics 101. Good evening to you if you're joining us from West Coast Babies. If you're joining us from West Coast Babies, welcome. Welcome to Politics 101. And of course, if you are joining us from over the Berbice River, East Berbice, Kanji, of course, New Amsterdam, some of you I know, quite a few of you joining us from New Amsterdam. Welcome. Welcome to Politics 101. Those of you who are joining us from the quarantine, welcome to Politics 101. Welcome to Politics 101. Welcome to all of you. If you're joining us from Paramaribo, Suriname, French Guyana, welcome. And those of you who are joining us from the wider Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Jamaica, the Bahamas, St. Kitts, Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, St. Lucia, Grenada. Of course, if you're joining us from Toronto, Canada, welcome to Politics 101. And those of you who are joining us from London, good night. Good night to you joining us from England. Good night to you. It's night there in Europe. Those of you who are joining us from France and from Africa, I noticed some of you. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. The Prime Minister has joined the circus. The Prime Minister has joined the circus. Good evening to you. If you are joining us from Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Robertson and family, my friends in Georgia, we'll be there. Today is what? Thursday, Saturday night. Of course, we will be in Atlanta. We'll be in Atlanta. Good evening, Shelley Douglas. Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Bino. Good evening. Good evening to the Robertsons. Hoping to see you all on Saturday night at that town hall meeting in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rickford Burke and I will be there, and we will be spreading the word. I'm hoping to get down to New York. I haven't been to Brooklyn in a while. I'm hoping to come down there at some point. Well, come up there because that's up north. Um, in I haven't been there in a while. Hopefully, we can organize a town hall meeting there. I shall be getting with my people across there and see what we can do. I haven't been spending more of my time in Guyana, but those of you in the tri-state area there in New York, um, uh, hopefully I can come back. But certainly on Saturday, we will be in Atlanta, Georgia at 6 o'clock. That's 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Spread the word that we will be there at 6 p.m. on Saturday. Welcome to all of you who are joining us from across the world. It's been quite an hectic week after that meeting in Buxton exactly a week ago. At this time in Buxton, last week, we were spreading the word, and that meeting has sent shivers down the spine of the government. We have gotten their attention for the first time in 3 years. We have gotten their attention, and the prime minister's joined the circus, pleading for what he called for good sense. And as we said last night, the ball is in the government's court. That our message is a simple message. That is, you've been beating up on our people for 3 years, and all we're asking you to do is to stop it. To stop it. Good evening to all of you. Good evening to the brothers and sisters in uniform. Good evening to the brothers and sisters in uniform. Good evening to all those soldiers, wherever you're stationed, whether it's an Ayangana or any of the outposts. Good evening to all the soldiers in Timeri or at Timeri. Good evening, you, our brothers in uniform. Good evening to the policemen and women, those who are on the road. We have a problem on the road in Guyana with traffic. And I want to appeal to our policemen and women. You've been doing a wonderful job in the afternoons and the mornings, trying to keep the traffic flowing. And that is your job, part of your job, not to go around the place shooting up on Black people or any people. Good evening to you, beautiful Black brothers and sisters. Be careful there on the roadways. There's some crazy drivers. They would see the police directing traffic and still trying to force their way. Good evening. Good evening to all those policemen and women at Moko, those who kept our meeting safe, those of you on the west side. Good evening. Good evening to the East Coast policemen and women at Vigilance, at Sparendam. Good evening, we love you. The days when we are cussing police are over. We are not anti-police. We will deal with the rogue police men. But our beautiful brothers, I noticed the headline in the Marara Wave says that the Prime Minister has come out against us for seeking sympathy in the police force. Now, they can't get a story straight. At one time, we are calling for the police force to rise up. Then, when that is not sticking, they say we are calling on the policemen to point the gun at them. And now they're saying we call the policemen for sympathy. We want to make it very clear. We don't want the policemen to rise up for us. We don't want a military coup. As we say, if the policemen rise up and they take power, they will keep the power. We do not want a military coup. We also don't want the policemen to fight for us. Our people are capable of pushing back. And all we're asking is for the policemen to recognize that we have a constitutional right to protest and authoritarian and autocratic government. And they ought not to shoot us or to bring trumped up charges against us. That's all we're asking. We're not asking for sympathy from the policemen. We're asking for love. Not sympathy. We don't want sympathy. We don't have a death. What we want from our brothers and sisters in uniform is love. Love the African way, love the Guyanese way. And that if you have love for us in your hearts, then you will not shoot down your own people. We hope that we have put the word out there and we have changed the equation. Good evening to you, Mr. Bess, Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff. Good evening to you, beautiful black brother. When you stand up there, you're shining. Black and shining. We love you, but we want you to love us back. Good evening, Brother Bess. You know, I don't talk a lot here about Mr. Hicken. I don't. But I'm going to say good evening to him. You're not out of our thoughts, my brother. Because although you're not the chairman of the chief of staff, you're commissioner of police. Whenever I see you, we chat. I remember on that bridge in 2012, you trying to get Aubrey Norton and I to clear the bridge. And I remember Aubrey telling you, we didn't put the people on the bridge. I remember that day, Mr. Hicken. And I remember that you spoke with me several times on that day. What I didn't know was that you were going to oversee the shooting down of innocent people on that bridge. I haven't seen you since. It's been 11 years. I haven't seen you since, but I remember that day. I don't mind what party card you have. I don't mind who you vote for, Mr. Hickens. If you're a PPP Central Committee member, that's not my concern. That's your business. But when you have on that uniform, you are not a Central Committee member of the PPP. You're commanding the police force. And your record has not been a nice record. You've overseen fake charges against your brothers and sisters. What's up with that, Clifton? You've overseen atrocities. You have a chance, brother, to stop that. That's all we are saying. Stop it. Because when you take off that uniform in a couple of years, you have to live among us. You've got to live among us, Brother Clifton. How are you going to look at your brothers and your sisters when you take off that uniform? Good evening. Good evening to Mark Phillips. I've never met Mark. I was at Golden Grove during the Quindon Bacchus incident, and he had come there to talk to the people. And I was one of the person who asked the people to give him a hearing. And he came there and he spoke. And when the people asked him if he knew what was going on in Golden Grove, he said he didn't know. And I kind of like Mark. He doesn't look like the type of guy that would hang out with those folks from Freedom House. He doesn't fit in. He doesn't fit in there, you know. He doesn't fit in. But he fitted himself in. And he accused me of racism yesterday. A brother who said that he's Afrocentric and he read all the Afrocentric books. They look at me and say I'm a racist. All I'm doing is talking Afrocentrism, Brother Mark, and you're calling me a racist. I forgive you. I forgive you for you know not what you say. I forgive you because I don't think you're speaking for yourself. I don't think you're speaking with your own mouth. I think you're better than that, Mark. You know I'm not a racist. You know that all I'm doing is speaking truth to power. You know that, Mark. You read all the Afrocentric books, and none of those Afrocentric books taught you to associate yourself with people who are beating up black people. Tell me which one of those Afrocentric books that you read that teach you to hang out with people who beat up black people. Come on, Mark Phillips. You spent a long time in the army serving Guyana. And don't disgrace yourself anymore. Be a prime minister. Do like Brother Sam. Smile. Don't get in to the ragamuffin behavior, the orangutan behavior. So, Mark, I forgive you for calling me a racist. You know I'm not a racist. The next time you and I catch up, we have to sit down and exchange. In fact, I'm inviting you, Mark Phillips, to come on this program. Let's talk some Afrocentrism. You said you read all the books. And let me just choose 2 of the books on Afrocentrism. And come on Politics 101, rather than cussing me and cussing Paul. The cussing is coming out of your mouth properly. So, Mark Phillips, I'm not going to spend too much time on you tonight because I like you, and I think you are a misfit in the PPP. You don't fit well. Come over to our side. Come over to our side, Mark. And if you must be a prime minister like Sam. Smile. Good evening. Welcome to Politics 101. I see Kidaki Amsterdam is there. He's ready for me. I know he's looking at the numbers and looking at the comments. And they catch him last night in the frame. Rather than listening to the interview, they catch him looking at the comments. The technology, it draw you like a magnet, like a magnet. I'm going to bring Kidaki on just now. Oh, Lord, last night, the Freddie Kisuun Gildari show, they had open mic asking people what they think about the Takumo Ogunse comments. And you all know what? The whole show degenerate into Indian people calling and cussing black people. Hey, Freddie Kisuun, no, man, you can't stereotype people like that. That is why Takumo Ogunse, part of why Takumo Ogunse is what he said. There is a way in which ordinary Indian people, some of them, I don't think it's a majority, I may not know, but it can be all. The things they've written about black people, said about black people, they're going to poison them, etc., etc., etc. And they were talking last night why they get more money than black people. Black people like sport. Even Freddie Kisuun felt shame last night. There was one man that called in. and said, I'm an Indian man. But when you walk down Regent Street and Water Street and you see all the businesses owned by Indians, are you going to be vexed with black people for being vexed? And they tried to shut the man up. Freddie tell the man it's not Indian business, it's Chinese business. You see now. But that all show degenerated into cussing of black people. Porky and Jabur from Anog, trying to explain to them how the history has led to the imbalance. And how the two parties, the two big parties, you know, the Anog thing, oh God, they're cussing nasty. They're cussing nasty. They were just displaying what we know. Now, I am not saying on our side, we don't got people who talk nasty about Indians. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Though you all don't get me wrong. I know we people who discuss out Indian people. But Lord, last night, you know, even Freddie Kissoon feels shame. So what has happened the last week is that everything has come out. And all those people who were trying to condemn us and all that kind of thing, the thing is open in front of their face. They're seeing it. Good evening. Good evening to my sister, Nicole Cole, rail soldier. I miss her in the front line, but she's doing women's work and so on. But we need more. Thank you all so much for those of you who have applied to join the WPA. Blessings and thanks. Those of you who have made your little contributions, blessings and thanks. Good evening. We are not going to beat up Mark Phillips tonight because we don't think he is one of the nasty ones. We are not. I know. Let's see if we get Kadaki Amsterdam. Good evening, Brother Kadaki.
Good evening, Dr. Hines and viewers.
Your smile is very broad. Are you seeing good comments, bad comments? What makes you smile when the government is threatening to lock you up?
I haven't seen any comments. I'm smiling at how you're maligning me.
But I'm maligning you in a brotherly way, but I am not going to deliver you like Sister Gita deliver Brother Ogunse to the enemy.
I understand. And you would be at fault, you know, the ancestors would be angry with you. Because if you listen to the enemy, they always say it is one of us who's doing the damage to us. And so you, as an Afrocentric person who have not only read the books but have also written books, would know differently. You're not a Mark Phillips. You're not a super, as we say, soup drinker. So I trust you wouldn't do that.
Please do not curse out my friend Mark. You were at Golden Grove when Mark was speaking, and I stayed there and listened to the man for over 2 hours. You go and left me because, in fact, you asked the man some rude questions.
Sometimes I don't know those questions are rude. The records will show that I challenged Mark to prove that he has the same authority as acting president. Because when he went to Golden Grove as prime minister, as an Afrocentric prime minister, he was in fact the acting president because the fat guy, Irfan, had left for Suriname or someplace. And my simple contention was Irfan, reacting to the people at Monrepo, turned up and he said you will be fully compensated. The people at Golden Grove had suffered losses because the police had shot into their shop fronts and so on, and shot into their homes and caused injury to children and so on. And so he said, you now have the authority. Can you do similarly to what Irfan had done? Declare that these people will be compensated fully. And that is where the conversation went downhill. Mark Phillips at Golden Grove could not give one single commitment to the people of Golden Grove. As a matter of fact, the only commitment I think I remember him giving was that he was going to contact the Ministry of Social Services and have them send counselors, where they call them grief counselors, social workers, to work with the people. Up until this day, not one single social worker has worked with the residents of Golden Grove and community and surrounding community to help them through the grief and the trauma that they suffered during that time. So I don't see Mark as an effective prime minister. I think even Sir Mines has done better than he has.
Well, those fellas are not really prime minister in substance. They're just prime minister in name. I mean, they're not
prime ministers.
Right. They're there as window dressing. We know that. They know that. And so I don't think you can do any proper analysis or evaluation of their value as prime minister. They're there just as window dressing. You put them up at Christmas time, and they're there, and then you wash them next year Christmas and put them back up just so.
It would seem as though a lot of our black brothers who have achieved quote unquote greater heights in public service are prepared to be that window dresser.
Well, you have to be careful. Some of them.
I said some. That's what I said. I didn't say all. I said some.
A few of them.
Many folks on the streets are saying that Best, Godfrey Best, your good friend, according to you, is aligning himself to be the next window dresser.
Well, look, Brother Kedaki, we have got to save these brothers. You know, that's part of our work. A part of our work is that we've got to bring them over. That is why they are going after us, because they realize that we are now not shoving our men in uniform over to them by cussing them. We are putting our arms around them and saying, if you are misled, we are now going to take off that zombie from you. And we are going to put the spirits of the ancestors on you. You know, we got to fight for these guys too. We shouldn't have to, but we have to. Remember, these guys vote for us 90-odd%. Don't forget that, you know. Don't forget that. That is irrefutable evidence. And if 2% or 3%, if 90-something% vote for us, it means 3 or 4% maybe our Indian Guyanese brothers in the uniform. I think we get 90-something% of police vote and soldier vote. And I think we get about 99% of the black police and black soldiers. So let's don't throw the baby with the bathwater.
I agree with you, Dr. Hanks, but let me say this. Tonight we might be at Loggerheads.
No loggerheads tonight.
Okay, all right. Let me say this, Dr. Hanks. Let me say this. In addressing our brothers and sisters in uniform, it is not enough to vote.
Well, we know that, but we're not discussing that tonight, brother.
It is not enough to vote.
We're not discussing that tonight.
Dr. You're being a poor host.
We are loving.
You allow me to speak.
We are loving our brothers tonight.
Dr. Hines, don't make it get like Lincoln Lewis.
We are loving our brothers tonight. We are not criticizing our brothers tonight.
I am loving. Listen, there's something called tough love. You just have to talk to your people out of love, and you can't always be baby.
Brother Ogunse has done that already.
All I'm saying to my brothers in uniform, brothers and sisters, is voting is not enough.
But it's a lot. All I'm saying in their defense is a lot.
I agree it's a lot. But you have to now move from voting to recognizing what your constitutional duties are.
That is our job, to school them.
And sticking to your constitutional duties.
That's your job and my job.
It is not looking good. It doesn't look good. When you are, according to Pastor, auditioning for bridesmaid, you don't look good when you walk around with a political slogan on your back and you say that, here, I am not biased, right? I'm impartial. It doesn't look good. It's mimicry, let me say that. It makes you look like a clown.
Yes.
And so
we know
brothers and sisters.
We know who the clowns are. Right? Brother Ogunse has already spoken to the clowns. Let us talk to the non-clowns here tonight. Let's put our arms around our beautiful brothers and sisters and make them welcome at our table so that they can be of service to their people.
And that is what we want indeed. Listen, every
evening,
black
Sister
policeman
Rhonda.
and woman. As a matter of fact, let me say this. Since Takuma's made a statement, I've seen a lot of people calling for the quote-unquote balancing of the armed forces.
A lot of people.
Right? Balancing of the armed forces.
People. You mean some people?
Yes. Balancing of the armed forces. I want to say this. That call has been made forever. Forever that call has been made. And it has proven, our brothers and sisters have proven, that they are patriotic at heart. They are willing at any time to serve their country through the armed forces. They have given of themselves. But because of the advantage that is being taken on them by this government, they are asked to do things which they ought not to be doing. And so I will say to my brothers and sisters in the armed forces right now, we are with you. We stand with you. We will fight for you. All we are asking you to do is fight or operate or function within the realms of the law. And that law doesn't permit you to point the guns at us because we are championing your rights. So like Takuma said, point the guns in the right direction. When you leave base camp in Ghana, you leave Ivleria, you leave all over this country where you're serving, you return to a family. You return to a community. You're not isolated. You're welcome. And so show us that you're deserving of that welcome. Like Brother Hines continuously say, we love you. We love you. But what we hate are the things that they ask you to do and you do them willingly.
Kidaki Amsterdam, executive member of the Working People's Alliance, Guyanese Morning Time host here with me tonight. And we are continuing to keep watch. The Prime Minister spoke last night after Politics 101. He had a reaction to Politics 101. And I love the brother. I'm not roughing the brother up tonight. I'm making an open invitation for the brother to come up here and for us to talk some Afrocentrism, because he said he read all these Afrocentric books. And we're only going to discuss one of those books. He can pick whichever book he wants to discuss, and I'm going to be ready. If I haven't read the book, I'll read it quickly so that we can talk some Afrocentrism. Brother Mark, you don't fit in well with those people over there. Don't make yourself a comic. You don't fit in well over there. Come over on we side. Come over and help us to tell some of your former colleagues to stop turning their guns on their people. You know, Brother Kidaki, first of all, I hear some of them say the WPA is the worst possible alternative. They don't love Burnham, but they're quoting Burnham to cuss WPA. I hear some of them talking that Irfan Ali should govern the country like Burnham. He already governed the country worse than Burnham. Listen, there have never been so many. Somebody? There have never been so many extrajudicial killings as there are now under the PPP. There was never so many extrajudicial killings under Burnham as you have now. Burnham never demolished people's homes in such a wicked and nasty way as these people are doing now. And I can go on and on. These are people who cuss Burnham. They tell their supporters that Burnham was the devil. And they are doing worse than Burnham. They make Burnham look like a Sunday school boy. And their supporters are pretending that they don't know that. And they don't have to tell me about Burnham. I was there. I have to read that in books so I can make the comparison. I can make the comparison. Burnham was not so wicked that he unequally shared a little corn. It can cost him for many things. All Indians can say is that he banned dal and Irish potato and wheat flour. And when he banned it for everybody. It's not only Indians who are using wheat flour. Just as Indians use wheat flour for roti, black people use as much wheat flour for bread. So Burnham didn't take away wheat flour just from them. Indian people didn't have the corn on wheat flour. It's wheat flour black people used to make the bread with. They cost Burnham what he do to people like me and the rest of us in the WPI. Yes, he did terrible things to us. But these here are doing terrible things to us. And they're doing more terrible things. And they're doing them to more than us. They're doing it to the black people in general. Black people in general. So they're cussing Burnham, and this government is worse than Burnham. Burnham never locked anybody up for terrorism. Now they're watching ordinary citizens locking them up for terrorism. Burnham lock up people, don't get me wrong. But Burnham never locked nobody up for terrorism. They're doing that. They're doing that. They are doing that. Kidaki, this comparison with Burnham, you may remember some little things about the Burnham era. But what do you make of this hypocrisy when it comes to dealing with Burnham and comparing him to what these devils are doing over there?
You know, Dr. Hines, when I heard the statement, if an Ali should govern like Burnham, I say we're in a good place.
There you go.
If Irfan Ali should govern like Burnham, we would be in a good place. We would see a return of cottage industry and all the other industries, all the productive sectors in this country will have a good day. More people will be employed. More people will be treated fairly. More housing schemes will be created for low-income people with respect. Right? I remember a whole lot about Burnham or growing up under the presidency of Burnham. I remember the schools. School children, I used to say, were kings and queens in this country. School children were kings and queens in this country. The Burnham government provided for them. Listen, the simple thing is free education from nursery to university. Up until now, this PPP government has promised that they will return free education to the University of Ghana. We haven't seen it. And in a time when we had less resources, when Burnham was president, we were enjoying free education. Now they're giving us gold scholarships. They're spending the money outside of Ghana instead of developing the University of Ghana for people to benefit here from free education. They're spending it outside of Ghana. So comparing the PPP to Forbes Burnham or Irfan Ali to Forbes Burnham is like doing chocolate cheese. Forbes Burnham and the PNC government will always come out ahead of the race if you do that comparison. The PPP has failed Guyana. They have failed to make use of the opportunities given to them after the 1992 elections. Let me tell you this. You talk about the extrajudicial killing. You know what dawned on me just now? Two of the worst murders in this country were committed under the watch of the PPP. And people looking on will never forget them. We are approaching Good Friday. Monica Reese was killed with the PPP in government on Main Street. To date, her murder is unsolved, or at least so they say. Recently, Paper Shirts was killed a short distance stone's throw away from the official residence of the Prime Minister and President, where they have CCTV camera. They could see what's happening in Golden Grove. They take people photograph and call them terrorists, but they couldn't see what was happening a stone's throw away from the president's home. Who they're talking to? Who are they talking to? It's a criminal cabal. Burnham might have been dictatorial as we claim, but he was never criminal, as far as I'm aware. That's the difference between the two of them.
And Kedaki Amsterdam here of the Working People's Alliance tonight. And, you know, this whole issue about what do they know of Burnham? What do they, when they claimed Burnham was sharing blows, they were, all of them were hiding, you know, they run and go where? They run, all of them, they run, go where? They hide, and they stand aside now on top of Burnham, and they got a government that they're supporting that is 10 times worse than Burnham. I am repeating, I didn't read. I was there. And this is not about fetching water for Burnham. The PNC got to do that. Burnham is their leader. But this is about saying to this regime that you are 10 times worse than Burnham ever dreamt to be. And
you know
that
what
is what we
want
to put a stop to. Yes, go ahead.
The refrain would be, shame on you. They kill Walter Rodney. Shame on you, Burnham kill Walter Rodney, and you're defending him. That is what they say every day. But to really defend themselves against the claims, the accusations, what we are pointing out with them as a non-government, quite frankly, they don't have the response. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. They continuously harp on the WPA, according to them, betraying Rodney and all of that. But like you rightly said just now, when Burnham was sharing licks, the WPA was in the forefront of taking those blows in defense of Indo-Guyanese, especially, who were seen as the oppressed at that time. The PPP got the opportunity. The PPP rode on the backs of WPA to power in 92. And instead of what I would say returning the favor of goodwill and governing in such a way that blacks, African Guyanese can feel comfortable, what they have done is turn around and beat black people, and they continue to beat black people. And when the WPA speaks out now, on the side of the oppressed black, they call us racist.
Yeah, well, that's an old course that they have given. Listen, Walter Rodney died he was murdered, he was assassinated in 1980. He was 38 years old. Walter Rodney did not live to see the massive murder of black men, over 400 black men in the 2000s. Walter Rodney did not live to see people's homes being demolished at Mocha and Linden and Success and in front of the police, the hospital. Walter Rodney did not live long enough to see an Indian brother allegedly spitting in the face of a black policewoman. Walter Rodney did not live long enough to see a young black lawyer, female lawyer, being locked up for doing her job. Walter Rodney did not live long enough to see black children being stoned by Indian residents in the West Bobbies. He did not live long enough to see Woodley Park, where black children were chased out, ethnically cleansed from a village. Walter Rodney did not live long enough to see money being stolen from Itpada G. Walter Rodney did not live long enough to see that Guyana is now blessed with oil wealth. And 90% of that oil wealth is going in one ethnic direction. Walter Rodney did not live long enough to see that. If Walter Rodney had lived long enough to see that, my suspicion is that you all would have been cussing me like you all cussing me now. So when you all talk about Walter Rodney, you all do him a disservice because you all park him in 1980 and not recognizing that what we are doing is that we are taking the practice of Walter Rodney. The language that Ogunse used the other night to bring you all to book, Walter Rodney used 10 times harsher language than that. He was good because he was using that language against an African government. And when his sons and daughters are using it against an Indian government, you all pretend it's not Walter Rodney's language. Yesterday, I opened the paper on Sister Bonita Harris. Oh, I love that sister. Brother Kidaki, you have to hear this. Yesterday, I opened the paper, and there was a small little letter by Bonita Harris, WPA founder member. And she responded to an editorial in the Stabroek News on Monday, in which she tells them about the incendiary language that they used in that editorial. And she said, in this atmosphere, you all have to be careful with using that language. The day before, Stabroek News wrote an editorial condemning us for incendiary language. And in typical traditional WPA way, Sister Bonita, in 3 or 4 lines, put them to their place. Stabroek News didn't pick their teeth. Stabroek News going after the WPA for using all kinds of bad language on the platform, and then on Monday they're using the same language in their editorial. And Sister Bonita, in 3 or 4 lines, put them to their place. She didn't say to them, you were cussing the WPA yesterday. She didn't have to say that. And you know, these people are so barefaced. I mean, Stabroek News, which these people take away advertisement from them, call them the worst newspaper, that you're cussing them left, right, and center. And they are fetching water for the PPP. You know? I mean, these people are so shameless. So that when they criticize the PPP of anything, you can't take them seriously. Now, these people, the PPP, Mark and all of them, calling on civil society to come out and condemn the WPA, the same civil society that they were cussing yesterday and saying civil society has no business telling the government what to do because civil society doesn't have any constituency. And so, therefore, the very civil society who shouldn't cuss them, they want the civil society to cuss WPA. This is the kind of disrespect these people have for Guyanese people. And we are in for it. We are in for it. Sister, Brother Kidaki, there was some confusion over 2 statements. I dealt with it yesterday. Brother Ganesh, Brother Siram, Brother Ubrat Singh, and Sister Natasha Singh issued a statement condemning Rhonda Lane. And then Sister Gita issued a statement condemning Ogunse. The press, the media, either willfully or or probably because they weren't paying attention, conflated the two statements and said that Brother Ganesh and them, condemn Ogunse. They didn't condemn Ogunse. But because they put the statement out, Brother Kedaki, because they put the statement out, at the same time that the Ogunse thing is raging, the press picked on it and said that they were condemning Brother Ogunse. I made the differentiation in last night. I called Sister Gita a slave catcher, and I refused to call Brother Ganesh et al. Slave catchers. I don't think they were. I think they got carried away. And as I said, the same charge that they are making against Rhonda, the PPP made the same charge against Sister Manzo. And they didn't come out and put out any statement. The Indians in the PNC didn't come out and put out any statement against Manzo. They came and put out a statement against Rhonda because they perceive Rhonda not being one of them. And perhaps because Rhonda is working class and they feel that she can't defend herself, she's not up there in the social circle, that they jump on her. And I thought it was unfortunate that they did that, and said that it's unfortunate that they did that. And we made it clear, we made a differentiation between them and to point out that we are consistent. Whether it was Amanza or whether it was Daniel Siram when they tried to bully you with the mic the other day, or whether it was Ubraj Narain, or whether it was Tabitha Sarabo Hali, the WPA was always out front defending opposition people under attack. No ifs and buts. No ifs and buts. We ask no question. Our motto is you attack one, you attack all. We never gave our view on what Amanza said as a party. We never, but we defended Amanza. We weren't interested in Amanza's words. We were interested in what drove Amanza to utter those words. And once she uttered them and they wanted to lynch her, we went up front and put our chest out and said, not this sister. And so when another black sister is in the firing line and you're going to come out in public against her, throwing her under the bus, throwing her over to the wolves, we feel that something is wrong with that. And I know some of them have been contacting you. Your comments.
Dr. Hines, listen, all that's happening and playing out in the media with those two statements, the representatives created it. They opened the gates for it. They opened the floodgates. I consistently say, and I said it on my program this morning, these are people who are members of an organization named the PNC. The PNC has organs to deal with their grievances, their processes. And if they had gone through the processes, the press would not have had access to multiple statements, and so they couldn't conflate them, right? There could have been no confusion between the two statements because the party as an organ would have issued a singular statement. At least it's my expectation. You have a grievance with what is said on a platform that your leader appeared on, then activate the organs of the party to address it. And let the party issue a statement in response to your concerns or the public's concern. But that did not happen. And so what the Ganesh Maipal group did was expose the chinks in the armor of the opposition, show that they were divisions, there were splits, there was no unity on this particular issue. And so you expose Sister Rhonda to the might of the PPP. Likewise, when Gita issued a statement against what was said by Takuma, she did the same thing. And in short, what both groups of people have done is expose that the main opposition party, the PNC, has factionalism and has cracks in its armor.
And that's not our business, I think.
No, let me finish.
Yeah.
Right? And by exposing those cracks, you expose cracks in the opposition, the total opposition. Because basically what the PPP will see is, hey, it appears as though the main opposition, the biggest opposition party is weak. They're down. Let us kick them while they're down. And let us kick all those who are in their camp while they're down. And that is what these brothers and sisters have done.
Yeah. And the cracks in the PNC is the PNC's business. I'm sure the PNC will take care of their cracks. And I don't think we should be, because our party may have our own cracks. All parties have cracks. So the issue is not the cracks. The issue is that the brothers and sisters showed very poor political judgment. Very poor political. Even if you want to fight your cracks internally, you have to understand that there's a big picture, and this is a very important moment. And you do not give 1 inch of ground to the other side. And I think our people have to learn that. You have to learn that there are times when the party has to fade into the background and let the movement come to the fore. And there are times when the movement has to fade in the background and the party come to the fore. I think it's just lack of political experience and judgment. That is why I'm not harsh on them. You know, I think they will learn as they go along. Don't you think we have disagreements with the PNC? We do. But we are not going to put that out there, because we are now focused on one enemy. One enemy. They tried to get us during the 5 months to come out and to say the PNC attempted to rig the election. Did we come out? No. Have we taken lots of blows for it? Yes. We lost some supporters because of it. Some of my political friends don't talk to me because of the stand we took, that we were never in those 5 months going to pick on the PNC when we know that the PPP had already rigged the election. And so what I'm saying is a question of political judgment. It's a question of political experience. I know there's sometimes you shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. You call Rhonda. They called me. I have to say that. They called me early on Saturday morning. I could not go to the phone. I got to the phone later. I spoke to Ganesh. As we say in the community, I give Ganesh satisfaction. I took responsibility for what was said on the platform. But I did not know then that the statement was already out. And so we are not opposed to them being hurt by what Rhonda said. That's their right. And they have reasons why they should feel hurt. But then, because of your hurt, you decide to watch at the political atmosphere. When we are crawling our way back to standing up in front of those people, you throw our people over to them. That can be correct. It can be correct. And so it is not the substance of what they put out that I am challenging. It is the tactical way. And some of their comrades agreed with them. And, listen, we will learn. We will learn. Sister Gita cannot get any sympathy whatsoever. Whatsoever. She cannot. And as I said last night, if you don't understand the reality of Guyana, I called it the myth. The myth that Indians in the PNC are traitors or are enemies on board, and that blacks in the PPP, Indian, believe that they are enemies on board. I call it a myth, but it's a myth that has a lot of resonance in the community. And when those sisters and brothers behave in that way, they are proving to some people that the myth may be reality. You have to know sometimes when to shut up. You have to know that. And these younger people in politics have to understand that politics is more than just being in parliament or being, a mayor or being, a regional chairman. You have to study politics. And there are times when we compete, and there are times when we drop our competition. Welcome to Politics 101. Good evening to you. Tomorrow night we are going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. Please come out tomorrow night. Where is the WPA going next, Brother Kadaki?
Sunday we are at Victoria on Sunday, 5 o'clock Sunday afternoon, Moravian Street.
Yes, and if you're in...
The speakers would be Dion Abrams, myself, Takumo Gonse, and others to be named.
Takumo Gonse would be the main speaker there tomorrow on Sunday night. The name that has become indelibly inked into the history of this moment. Yes, Brother Takumo is not in hiding. He will be there at Victoria on Sunday. Please come out on Sunday. If you are in Victoria, Belfield area, come out and go to that WPA meeting. And on Saturday night, I will be in Atlanta, Georgia. We are at a pivotal moment in our history. The ball is now in the government's court. The ball is now in the PPP's court. They can decide what they want to do. They can decide whether they want to continue going down the road that they've been continuing. We have cautioned them. And we have said that if you continue to do that, there'll be consequences. And we don't have any hidden conspiracy. In the Rodneyite way, we are saying that we have alerted our people that they have to take action to push back against what you've been doing. That's all it is. We have no military capacity. We have no. If we had military capacity, we might have been in the hills fighting a guerrilla fight. We don't have military capacity. We do not preach violence because we are the victims of violence. So we are not preaching violence. We are the victims of violence. We are saying that human beings, when faced with constant violence, we know what their response would be. And that is why we are cautioning you now to stop your lawlessness. No. And you can decide to stop, or you can decide with your saber rattling about who you're going to lock up. I've never seen a government in Guyana or the English-speaking Caribbean that could threaten people with locking them up like this PPP. I've never. Not on the Burnham, not on the Gary, not on the Williams. This government like to tell you they're going to lock you up. That is, they're using power for power's sake. They're autocrats. And so all this saber rattling about what should be done to Ogunse last night on Freddie's show, they said that the WPA and the PNC should hang we. They should hang us. You see where the violence is coming from. These are people who cuss the police black, cuss the soldiers black, call them racist, call them kick down the door bandits. If you hear Jack Dior just a few years ago about the police and the army, And now because we said to them, those boys will have to stop doing your bidding, they're not pretending that they love the army. They don't. They do. The PPP don't love the army. They don't love the police. They don't love CARICOM. There are some things that PPP will never love. I heard you talk about balancing the army. PPP supporters are going in no army. They're not going in no police.
My point?
Yes, I know your point. I heard your point. What they want is to use black people in the army and the police to do their dirty work. And what we in the WP are saying to our brothers and sisters, no man, no man. Are you better than that? Are you better than that to allow people to use you all like slave boys and slave girls? We are not oblivious to the fact that fear stalks the nation. Whenever the PPP is in power, black people, some of us become very fearful. So many people have, contacted me and told me to be careful, you all be careful. And I tell them thanks. But there's a time that you have to stand up. And I want them to tell us more than to be careful. I want our people to tell us, keep the fight up. Keep the fight up. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. As Walter Rodney used to say, if the regime wants to get you and to kill you, they're going to get you and kill you. And so going and hide is not going to help you. Somebody has to stand up to the schoolyard bully. Somebody has to stand up to the schoolyard bully. And when you stand up to the schoolyard bully, they come out as they're coming out. Every day, one of them coming out, crawling out, and carrying on. When we were pleading with them for 3 years, stop. They wouldn't stop. And now we have decided to do more than pleading. We have decided to caution them. They're coming out now and crying that we are terrorists and all those kinds of things. We want to thank all of you for standing with us and to cover us with your blessings and to stand with us and stand ready with us and to begin to get yourself battle ready. Because they're busy meeting. I understand the cabinet met the other day to discuss what to do with WPA and the Ogunse. And I told my PPP bigwig friend who bring the news to me about the cabinet, I told him to ask them if the WPA is not dead. Why the whole cabinet meeting to decide what to do with the dead? The meeting. And they're trying to work out if they do so, what is likely to happen. And if they lock up Ogunse, what is likely to happen and what is not likely to happen. That is their business because we give them work. But we are saying that we stand by our message. And we have brought them out. At least they come out into the open. President, Prime Minister, head of the army, all of them. We have brought them out into the open. And we are saying it will not be business as usual. Tonight I'm on with Mark Bishop. In another hour, I'm on with Mark Bishop tonight. And then on Sunday, on Saturday, I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia. Sunday night, the WPA is at Victoria. Tomorrow night, we're going to take a break because I'll be traveling tomorrow night. So we're going to miss. I may tape a show early in the day. I don't know. But most likely, we are going to be off tomorrow night. But on Saturday night, they'll be streaming the tongue meeting out of Atlanta, Georgia live. Closing remarks, Kidaki Amsterdam.
Well, I want to encourage everybody to come out to, first and foremost, those of you in the diaspora, see if you can make Atlanta. It's going to be an important and interesting meeting, I'm sure. And those of you who are here, see if you can make it to Victoria. as a show of solidarity. Come out on Sunday at 5 o'clock at the corner of Moravian Street and Victoria Middle Walk Road, as I call it. And let's continue the conversations. Let's continue to show the government that we are not afraid, we are not backing down. We will stand by, the WPA will stand by its statement, and the people are standing by the WPA and Takumo Obansi. It's the government's business to decide what the government wants to do. But in the true words of the Working People's Alliance, people's power, no dictator. And we stand by our comments and we stand by our commitment to fighting for better governance in this country on the side of the oppressed.
Thank you very much, Kedaki Amsterdam. And of course, the requests are coming in. I saw a request came in today for us to go to Agricola. The requests are coming in. Our resources are limited, of course, and we have to work with our limited resources. So those of you who want to contribute resources to the WPA, you know where to find us. Contact me, contact Brother Kedaki. We need resources. We need resources if we're going to do more meetings. And I know the requests are coming in. We are trying to meet all the requests to go to all the villages, as many villages as we can. And we've promised West Babis to go there for a long time. We haven't gone there yet. But those of you who can help us with resources, please get in touch with us. Some of you are already making your own contributions. Thank you again for making your contributions to help us to press forward. God bless you, and the ancestors will always cover you with their blessings. If I don't see you all tomorrow evening, certainly I'll be seeing you all from Atlanta on Saturday, and I know we've promised to come to Brooklyn for a town hall meeting there. We are going to work on that, and so keep with the struggle. And tonight I'll be on Mark Benchop. I'll be on Mark Benchop doing what I call my second shift. Thank you all very much. See you all in half an hour or so on Mark Benchop.
Thank you, Zero.